Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow members and guests. For the benefit of our many new members and guests here this evening, my name is Michael Harris, and I'm the chairman of the Mid Wales Charter Surveyors. As chairman, it is my privilege to formally welcome you to the Mid Wales Charter Surveyors Annual Dinner 2005 here at the Gregnog Centre. I would first like to thank the warm welcome that we received from all the staff and also the fabulous food that was on offer. I would also like to thank the company on our top table. We have our guest speaker, Miss Charlie Dyma, and we have Miss Theodora Light, and also most of you are aware of our fellow members, Miss Jodie Beecher and Miss Rhiannon Llewellyn. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you all know what tonight is all about. It's a chance to let your hair down, for those who have it, and catch up on the news since we met way back in the summer for our golf tournament. I would like to congratulate Dan Jones over there on winning the tournament and the value of entertainment that he brought to the day, as myself and fellow amateurs crumble behind him. Now, I know you haven't turned up to listen to me chat all night, so I'd like to introduce you our guest speaker for this evening, Miss Charlie Dyma. Now, you may not know her as well as I do, but Charlie has always been a kind and considerate young lady from a young age. One night she was walking home from work. She passed this homeless guy in the street, and there he was, the dirtiest, smelliest guy you can ever imagine, begging on the street. He said to Charlie, "Please, could you give me some money?" Well, Charlie thought for a while and said, "Well, if I gave you money, you would only spend it on beer." "No," said the homeless guy. "Well, in that case, it must be cigarettes." Again, the homeless man replied, "No." Well, Charlie thought for a while, "It's not booze, it's not cigarettes, then it must be drugs. You must spend it on drugs." "No," again replied the homeless man. Well, Charlie thought to herself and said, "Well, why don't you come home with me?" So the homeless man followed her home, and there she was, walking up the drive. She was met at the door by her mother. Her mother was shouting and screaming, "What the heck did you bring this homeless guy back with you? He's going to stink the place up." Well, Charlie replied to her, "Mum, you've always told me not to drink, not to smoke, and whatever I do, don't take drugs. Well, this is what happens if you don't." Well, ladies and gentlemen, could you please put your hands together for our guest speaker, Miss Charlie Dyma. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends, thank you, Michael, for the kind words of introduction, and thank you all for the invitation to be your main speaker here this afternoon. Before I go any further, I'd like to thank the university here in Gregnog for the stunning meal that we've received this afternoon. It is a perfect example of Welsh culinary skills at their best. Now, someone once told me, believe it or not, that chartered surveying and gardening are similar. Now, I've honestly never thought about this one before, but it has been puzzling me now for quite a long time, and I think I found the connection. Now, gardening to me is about enjoying the smells of things growing in the soil, getting dirty without feeling guilty, and generally taking the time to soak up a little peace and serenity. Growing, dirt, peace and serenity. These 4 words are also in the Charter Surveyor's little red book. Growing and dirt. You can see your project, whatever it may be, whether it's laying the foundations to a new road or conserving a building of great historical value. You can see your project growing from that little seed of an idea to the planting of that seed, from the first brick that makes its foundation and until its completion. Peace and serenity. Well, after all of that hard work, you simply deserve some peace and serenity. Now, when Michael rang me the other day, the first thought I had was, well, I do hope that nothing's happened to him or his partner, the dear and old and sweet William. But I soon realised that he was inviting me here this afternoon, and what an honour it is. It's lovely to be back in Wales and back with my friends. It's lovely to see so many a friendly and familiar face here today. You are so lucky to be surrounded by such luscious landscapes and, of course, any gardener's dream, a plentiful supply of water. Now, what a feature. You needn't look any further than Grygynnog itself and the town, Newtown, a historical market town set in a Sibyllian sweep of the River Severn, to see how amazingly beautiful Wales is. Certainly travelling down here today brought back a flood of memories of many happier times that we've had here. Take the Royal Welsh Show, for example, when Theodora, Michael, Rhiannon and Judy helped me and the gardening team, of course, to design and create the perfect building and garden to celebrate the centenary of the show. And who could forget the unforgettable 2004 Chelsea Flower Show, where the team, once again joined, well, by Barry Maylard, of course, got together to create the Light Symphony, which won the silver medal. And who could ever believe that we had ever made it to the end of that 5-mile Great British Run in Cardiff Bay last May? I was lucky, or rather, you were lucky, that I was well supported that day. It seems likely that we shall be working together again in the near future with this new scheme to create a youth hostel and a garden feature in Newtown, in the town centre itself. I'm telling you, by the end of this year, we'll be the next Dermot and Llywelyn. But I know I'll be as safe as houses with you, the Mid Wales Charter Surveyors. Now I'm sure that many a flower has bloomed during the time that I have talked to you. So I think it's high time for me to let you return to the bar and to the rest of the day. Well, of course, with a big match on its way, you can also enjoy that now. But first, may we all raise our glasses to toast the success and the future success of the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors. If you all stand. May we all have a future with a solid footing.
Solid footing. Well, thank you, Charlie, and I look forward to working with you again in the future, of course. Now, I'd like to call upon Miss Rhiannon Llywelyn to respond on behalf of our association. But before I let Rhiannon take the stage, I would just like to congratulate her on her pregnancy. Well, it's obviously not a secret now, seeing as she's been talking kids and families with about everyone lately. Well, she told me during dinner that she was down in Milford, chatting families again, and asked her how many kids did the mother have. Well, the mother said 10. Rhiannon was shocked. 10? Well, what are their names? And the Milford mother started, well, it's Wayne, 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 and Wayne. Well, Rhiannon's a bit miffed by this. Well, doesn't it get confusing? Nah, said the Milford mum. It's great, because when they're all out playing, I just shout, Wayne, Wayne, your dinner's ready, or Wayne, go to bed. And they all do it. Well, Rhiannon thought for herself, well, what happens if you want to speak to them individually? Well, the client said, that's easy. I just use their surnames. Well, ladies and gentlemen, could you please show your appreciation for our Miss February of the Tsunami Relief Calendar, Miss Rhiannon Llywelyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors, it gives me great pleasure to thank our guest speaker, gardening expert Miss Charlie Dyma, for her excellent speech. It was nice to see somebody who clearly knew the ABC of public speaking. Always be confident. Unlike our chairman, Mr. Michael Harris, who got up worried about the XYZ, examine your zip. Having spent the last month having my personal assets surveyed by every man in this association, thanks to the tsunami relief calendar, I think I finally know how Charlie feels whenever she appears on television. But I think I speak for all our members in saying how delighted we are that you are able to speak to us tonight. Believe it or not, this is the first time a gardening expert has spoken at our dinner. And it was lovely to hear you mention the ideas of connection, growing, dirt, peace and serenity, which, as we all know, is incredibly important to chartered surveyors, especially in rural communities such as Mid Wales, where we want to ensure that traditional ways of life are not lost and forgotten. And with the help of people like Charlie and his support, this won't happen. And I think it is embodied in what she described as our perfect building, the centenary building at the Royal Welsh Showground. Now, as we all know, to be a chartered surveyor requires a wide range of knowledge and skills, and being able to turn your hand to many different tasks, something our chairman Michael knows a little bit about. You see, our national president of the Chartered Surveyors, Miss Theodora Light, who we'll hear from later, recommended Michael to her local WI as a speaker. But she said, seeing he was so good at valuing physical assets, that he should be able to speak on the art of making love. Well, Michael was a bit embarrassed about telling his wife what the speech was on, so he told her it was just on sailing. When Theodora saw his wife in town a few days later, she said, "Oh, your husband was wonderful, he certainly knows his stuff." Well, I can't think how that is, thought Michael's wife. He's only tried it twice. The first time he was sick, and the second time his hat blew off. Thankfully, we did not have those sort of mix-ups here this evening, and we were all entertained with Charlie's ideas on the youth hostel with its garden feature, which we will soon be building here in Newtown. Environmental issues are, of course, particularly relevant to chartered surveyors. Being able to get through the conflict, I think, is the idea of development over preserving the environment. However, with the help of the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors and a high-profile spokesman such as Charlie, I believe this conflict will be overcome. We will be able to form a meaningful partnership and go forward to secure a better future for the youth of the rural community. Now, we all remember our first job, and mine was to go and value a farm not very far away from here. Mr. Jones had decided he was selling up after 50 years working the land. I was driving down the lane and I saw him just standing in the middle of the field. He didn't seem to be checking his sheep or anything, he was just standing there. I thought he's probably taking one last look around the place before he goes. So I went up to him, asked if everything was all right. "Oh, don't you worry about me, Bach," he said. "I won't be needing your help now. You see, I'm going to win a Nobel Prize." "What?" I said. "How on earth are you going to do that?" "Ah, easy," he told me. "They always give them to people who are outstanding in their field." When we got back up to the farm, we were looking around the buildings, and I had to ask him why he was deciding to sell up. "Oh, my wife's leaving me," he said. "It's a funny story. It all started here, right here in the shed. I was milking the cow one morning, bucket was nearly full, and she went and kicked it over with her left leg. She's never done that before, but some things you just can't explain. I tied her leg to the post and carried on. Just as the bucket was getting full again, she went and kicked it over with her right leg. Never done that before. Some things you just can't explain. I tied that leg to a post and carried on. As the bucket was filling up again, she went and knocked it over with her tail. Never ever done that before. Some things you just can't explain. I didn't have any more string to tie her tail up, so I took my belt off, and as I did it, my trousers fell down and in walked the wife. Some things you just can't explain. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you haven't come here to listen to me tonight, and we are very fortunate to have a lot of very distinguished guests, including our guest speaker, Miss Charlie Dyma, and of course our National President, Miss Theodora Light, who we will hear from later. It was a privilege to hear Charlie speak about the local area and of course about that youth centre that we are determined to build. And in reiterating our thanks to you, Charlie, may I just say that the foundations of a very firm friendship with the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors have definitely been laid tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rihanna, for your contribution tonight, but also with the calendar. I know February will be lasting a little bit longer this year in some homes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of you have been waiting to hear from her. It's my personal secretary, Miss Jodie Beecher, who is going to propose a toast to our guests. Well, I have to thank Jodie for all the support she's given me over the years and the bond that we have created together. But I have to tell you, it hasn't been the same right the way through. You see, let me take you back to when I hired Jodie. In all honesty, the selection process for the job was no contest. Jodie stood out, well, in a couple of ways, didn't she? However, after a few weeks went by, in the first few weeks, I noticed some vital information. I stormed out of my office and confronted Jodie. What was the meaning of this? What's going on? When you applied for this job, you told me you had 5 years' experience. And then, when I look at it again, this is your first job. Well, Jodie replied to me as innocent as always. Well, boss, in your advertisement, you told me you wanted somebody with imagination. Well, as you can guess, she needs a little encouragement, but please give her a warm welcome all the same. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jodie Beecher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, what a wonderful honour it is for me to propose a toast to our guests here this evening. Being Mike's personal secretary normally means that I do all the work, I make all the tea, but I get blamed for all the mistakes. So being asked to propose a toast at this, our annual dinner, really is a pleasure for me. We are extremely fortunate to have with us tonight Miss Charlie Dyma and Miss Theodora Light, our National President. But what Miss Dyma may not realise is that during my time at university, I became very friendly with her nephew Rupert. Rupert and I had great times together. And I remember well the Freshers' Ball, where Rupert and I decided to go for a swim in the boating lake. Well, I stripped off to my underwear, Rupert stripped off completely naked, and this is where he gained his nickname, Rupert There. Now, over the years, Rupert and I forged a very close friendship, and we would spend hours discussing numerous subjects, over the Student Union bar, of course. Things like the government of the day, the meaning of life, and even how to deep fry a battered Mars bar. But one thing which we both shared a great passion for was a love of fox hunting. Now, I know that here in Mid Wales we have a very strong hunt following, and indeed our very own Mr Thomas Phillips at the back there, and just about to see you with your lovely wife Anne Harrod, he is actually master of the Sennybridge Farmers Hunt, so I'd like to take this opportunity to wish them both well at this dark time for hunting. Do you know, it's been 4 years now since Rupert and I graduated, but even then the writing was on the wall for hunting with dogs. Rupert and I would discuss this in the future of the sport, and he would often point out that there is a far bigger population of foxes in the city than there is in the country. And because of this, me being renowned for my imagination, as Mikey has already pointed out, I created a new sport, inner city fox hunting. Well, this would be a fantastic sport, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of a group of horsemen galloping across the countryside after the fox, you'd have a group of skinheads in Ford Escorts, handbraking and wheel spinning their way through the city streets after the fox. And instead of beagles to chase the fox, you'd have a group of youths in no-fear baseball caps brandishing flick knives. The start of the hunt would be signalled not by a bugle or trumpet, but with the sound of an over-large bass speaker, played out of the boot of a 1980s Vauxhall Nova with a cheap plastic body kit. Now, something I read the other day, did you know that the League of Supporters for Sports that Inflict Massive Injury and Pain to Foxes, they claim that foxes do not have conventional neurosystems, and they can't feel pain as we know it. Instead, to a fox, pain is experienced as a warm, fuzzy feeling, followed by a general feeling of being happy to be alive. Not altogether very different symptoms from those I suspect most of you will be feeling by midnight tonight, all self-inflicted and actually thoroughly enjoyed. Now, I'm not here to talk about foxes, and even less to talk about Rupert, so back to the real reason that I've been asked to stand here and talk tonight, our guests. And we have one very special guest with us tonight. That is Mr Frederick Simons, retiring after 19 years with Turnbull Tweedale. So on behalf of everyone here tonight, I'd like to wish Mr Frederick Simons a good health and a happy retirement. Tonight we've been extremely lucky to be entertained by Miss Dyma and Miss Light. Now I've had the pleasure of working with Charlie on many occasions over the years, the Royal Welsh Show being one of our highlights together, and she's probably one of the most outrageous ladies you could ever wish to meet. Charlie, you truly are a pleasure to work with. Now, although I haven't had the opportunity of dealing very much with Theodora Light, I know from experience that she is one of the most highly respected individuals in her field, and how fitting that our national president should be named after a surveying instrument. Chartered surveying is just a small part of a whole web of professionals needed to take a project from start to finish. Both Charlie and Theodora are ambassadors in their own right, and may I offer the thanks on behalf of the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors Society that you were able to join us here this evening. So ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding and join with me to propose a toast to our guests. Our guests.
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 Well, thank you, Jodie. I know you've put a smile on all our faces, and especially mine again this evening. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our last speaker, but by no means least, Miss Theodora Light. Now, Theodora, working as the UK president, of course, of the Chartered Surveyors, has a terribly stressful and busy job. Theodora told me that her sister phoned her while she was at work. Well, she answered the phone saying, "I'm far too busy, I can't talk to you, sorry, sister." Well, the sister was like, "Well, okay, but I've got some good news and bad news I really have to tell you." Well, Theodora turned around and said, "Well, in that case, can you just tell me the good news? I'm far too busy." Well, okay then, the airbag works. So, ladies and gentlemen, could you please join me and offer the warmest of receptions, Miss Theodora Light.
The Committee of the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors, Lords, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, may I thank you for inviting me here today as a representative from the Chartered Surveyors of Great Britain. It is a pure pleasure to be here in your midst, especially as I have been given the honour to be the President of the Chartered Surveyors of Great Britain for this year. It is lovely to be in Wales, a country which is developing greatly at present. Here in Mid Wales you are honoured with a picturesque scenery from high mountains to deep blue seas, an ideal environment for any surveyor. And Gregynog here is an excellent example of Wales's beauty at its very best. As surveyors, we have the knowledge of principles and methods for describing the features of land, sea and air, including their physical characteristics and distribution of plant, animal and human life. Here in Mid Wales, you are also blessed with numerous burial sites, which in the past provided plenty of work for surveyors. From the gold mines in the Cothi Vale of Carmarthenshire, plum in Cwm Ystwyth, Ceredigion, and drift mines in Pembrokeshire. Now we are lucky that museums and libraries are working hard to share the history of these places and are ensuring that they live on for future generations. It was an extra treat for me tonight that Charlie Dyma was here, and as always, her contribution was unique and praiseworthy. She's like a flower, just like a gerbera, colourful, vibrant and full of energy. Over the years, I have often worked with gardeners like Charlie and with Charlie herself in the Royal Welsh Show last year. As we are surveyors, we have to ensure that we do not adversely impact nature conservation areas. We have to ensure that necessary compensatory measures can be secured to reduce the level of impact caused by building a new house or highway. As the National President, I would like to take this opportunity to mention some of the contributions you as the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors have made to the National Association. We are all at National very pleased with your enthusiastic efforts, as you are all dedicated working surveyors, and may I wish Frederick a happy retirement, as Jodie mentioned. And as Rhiannon mentioned, may I wish you all the best in building a youth hostel in Newtown, and if I can be of any help, remember to let me know. I understand also that the National Assembly of Wales are working to better the roads that are connecting South and North Wales. I am sure that you as surveyors here in Mid Wales are very excited regarding this major project, which will not only provide you with job opportunities, but will also enrich the lives of people living or travelling through Wales, as I am sure we all have been stuck behind a lorry or caravan at one time or other. As chartered surveyors, we are like John the Baptist, who prepare the way. We ensure that all land features or buildings are built on a solid footing. We examine the accurate measuring of the Earth's crust. My friends, we must continue to do this. We are level-headed people that take accurate measurings that mark as benchmarks for other people. T.S. Eliot said that he measured out his life with coffee spoons, but as chartered surveyors, we know that we measure more significant issues, and we do so more accurately. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Miss Lai. And also our guest speaker, Miss Charlie Dyma. It's a privilege to have you both here this evening, and thank you for all the support you've given the association. On behalf of the Mid Wales Chartered Surveyors, we look forward to working with you both again in the future. But now that all the formalities are out the way, let's get down and party the night away and make a solid footing for the bar and the future, of course. Thank you and good night.